Hi, I'm Hannah. 2 days before my wedding, my dream dress was returned to me in shreds. My soon-to-be sister-in-law, Beth, handed me a receipt with wide-eyed concern, claiming the cleaners had destroyed it. But when I found the scissors hidden in her car, I realized the truth. Beth had sabotaged me. It all started 6 months ago when Ben proposed. The moment was magical. He slipped a vintage sapphire ring onto my finger, a family heirloom from his grandmother. At the family dinner where we announced our engagement, I couldn't stop smiling until I saw Beth's face. Her lips curled into a brittle smile that didn't reach her eyes. "How unexpected," she said, gripping her wine glass so tightly I thought it might shatter. Beth had been divorced for 3 years, and according to Ben, she'd always been fiercely protective of him. "It's just a twin thing," he'd explain whenever I pointed out her possessive behavior. But I knew it was more than that. At first, wedding planning was a dream. I found the perfect dress, an elegant A-line gown with lace sleeves and a sweetheart neckline. When I tried it on, even Ben's mother teared up. "You look stunning, dear," she said, dabbing her eyes. Beth, on the other hand, couldn't resist taking a jab. "Don't you think it's a bit much?" she said with a smirk. Especially for a second wedding. She knew this was my first marriage. Her digs were always deliberate. Over the months, her criticisms became relentless. The venue was too fancy, the flowers too plain, the menu too exotic. I bit my tongue every time, determined to stay gracious. "Kill them with kindness," my mom always said. 2 weeks before the wedding, Beth suddenly changed her tune. She offered to help with the details, even volunteering to take my dress to the cleaners. "Let me handle it," she said sweetly. "I know an amazing place that worked wonders with my gown." I hesitated, but Ben encouraged me. "Maybe she's finally trying to help. Give her a chance." Against my instincts, I handed over the dress. The excuses began almost immediately. The cleaners were being extra careful with the lace, or delayed by a special treatment for the beading. I was uneasy, but Ben reassured me. Then, 2 days before the wedding, Beth appeared at my door with my dress back. Her expression was a mix of fox sympathy and practiced concern. "Hannah, I'm so sorry," she said, unzipping the bag. The sight made my stomach drop. My beautiful gown was shredded, lace ripped apart, silk ribbons hanging in tatters, the beading scattered like debris. Beth produced a receipt with a trembling hand. "The cleaners feel awful. Their machine malfunctioned. They'll cover the cost, of course." I was speechless. My dress, my wedding. It felt like everything was ruined. Beth hovered, patting my shoulder. "Maybe it's a blessing in disguise," she said. "Something simpler might suit you better. I still have my old gown. We could alter it." Her words were a knife twist, but something didn't add up. The receipt she handed me looked off. The address wasn't familiar, so I Googled it. The business didn't exist. While Beth played the role of the caring sister-in-law inside, I slipped out to her car. Under the passenger seat, partially hidden by a shopping bag, I found her fabric shears. Caught in the blades were threads that perfectly matched my dress. My hands shook as I took photos. When I returned, Beth was showing Ben bridal shops on her phone. "We'll find something for her. Don't worry," she cooed. But the glint in her eyes when she glanced at the destroyed dress betrayed her satisfaction. "Actually," I said, my voice sharper than I intended, "I think we should call the police." Beth's head snapped up. "The police? Don't be ridiculous, Hannah. It's just a dress." "A dress that was cut up with these," I said, holding up my phone to show the photos of her scissors. The blood drained from her face. Ben looked at the photos, then at Beth. "Beth, is this true?" She stammered, her composure cracking. "I don't know what she's talking about. Those could be anyone's scissors." I wasn't done. "And this receipt," I added, holding it up. "The business doesn't exist." "Care to explain that?" Beth's mask shattered. "You're trying to steal my brother," she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "You're not good enough for him. You never were." Ben stared at her, horrified. "Beth, what's wrong with you?" "She's ruining everything." Beth sobbed. "We're twins, Ben. We've always been a team. She's taking you away from me." For a moment, the room was silent. Then Ben's voice cut through, quiet but firm. "Get out, Beth. Now." She gaped at him, her world crumbling. "You're choosing her over me?" "I'm choosing sanity," he replied. "And I'm done with this." Beth stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I sank onto the couch, tears spilling over as I stared at the ruined dress. Ben took my hand. "We'll figure it out," he promised. Together. The dress was gone, and the wedding was in chaos. But in that moment, I realized Beth's battle wasn't just against me, it was with herself. And as much as I wanted to move forward, I knew she wasn't finished yet. As I stared at my ruined wedding dress that evening, my best friend Megan stormed in armed with reinforcements, 3 bottles of wine, and a fierce determination to fix this disaster. "I can't believe she went this far," Megan said, inspecting the shredded fabric. Then her lips curled into a wry smile. "Actually, I totally can. Remember the Christmas party incident?" Oh, I remembered. Beth had accidentally spilled red wine on my white sweater right after I'd given Ben a rare first edition book as a gift. She claimed she tripped, but the smirk on her face told the real story. "We need a plan," Megan declared. "You can't let her win." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with notifications. Texts from Beth's friends. Somehow, she twisted the narrative, claiming I falsely accused her of destroying the dress to turn Ben against his own family. Classic Beth, play the victim while being the culprit. "Look at this." I showed Megan the messages, ranging from accusations of cruelty to barely veiled threats. The worst came from Martha, my future mother-in-law. "Family dinner tomorrow night. We need to discuss this. All of us." Ben read the message over my shoulder and squeezed my hand. "We'll face them together," he said firmly. "We have proof." The next morning, chaos escalated. Beth posted a tearful selfie on social media, rambling about false accusations and family betrayal. Comments poured in, calling her a victim and me a monster. Then, the wedding venue called. Someone claiming to be me had canceled our reservation, and they'd already booked another wedding. I didn't need a detective to know who was behind it. "She's trying to ruin everything," I whispered to Ben as we drove to his parents' house that evening. "She won't," he promised, but the strain in his voice said otherwise. Walking into dinner felt like entering a battlefield. Beth sat at the table, red-eyed and sniffling, perfectly playing the devastated sister. Martha hovered near her, glaring at me. Even Ben's father, usually neutral, seemed troubled. "Well," Martha began, her tone clipped, "we need to address this situation." "Yes, let's," I said, pulling out my phone. "Let's start with the evidence." Before I could continue, Beth burst into tears. "I can't believe she's still accusing me. I was only trying to help. The cleaners ruined the dress, and now she's blaming me to tear this family apart." "Beth," Ben said firmly, "we found your scissors." Her crocodile tears stopped instantly. "Anyone could have put those there. She's framing me because she doesn't want me at the wedding." Martha nodded sympathetically. "Hannah, sweetheart, wedding stress can make people irrational. Maybe you're seeing things that aren't there." That's when I played my trump card. "Actually," I said, pulling up a video on my phone, "I have something else to show you." Beth's face went pale. After finding the scissors, I checked my building's security cameras. The footage showed Beth entering with my dress bag late at night and leaving hours later. The timestamps matched perfectly. Beth stammered as the video played. "That's not. I mean, and here's the fake receipt you gave me," I continued. "I called every cleaner in town. None of them ever had my dress. Care to explain that?" The room went silent. Martha stared at the screen, her expression crumbling. Ben's father rubbed his temples, shaking his head. Then Beth laughed. A cold, bitter sound. "Fine," she spat. "You want the truth? I destroyed it. That dress was ridiculous anyway. You're trying to look like some princess when you're nothing but a gold digger who stole my brother." "Beth," Martha gasped. "Oh, don't act shocked, Mom. She's turned Ben against us. He barely visits anymore because of her. She's ruining this family." Ben stood, his chair scraping loudly. "No, Beth. You did that. Your jealousy, your manipulation, your lies. That's what's destroying this family." "Jealousy?" Beth shrieked, her voice cracking. "She's not good enough for you. None of them were. I'm the only one who truly understands you, who truly loves you." The silence that followed was suffocating. Martha covered her mouth, finally seeing her daughter's obsession for what it was. Ben's father clasped his hands, the weight of years of enabling settling over him. "I think," Ben said quietly, "we need to postpone the wedding." My stomach dropped. Beth's face lit up with triumph until Ben continued. Not because of the dress. Not because of Beth's lies. But because this family needs help. Professional help. Either Beth gets therapy or she's not welcome in my life anymore. I won't let her ruin my happiness or continue hurting Hannah. Beth launched herself at me then, screaming incoherently. Ben caught her mid-lunge, holding her back as she flailed and cried. As security cameras captured yet another meltdown, I realized this wasn't over. Beth wouldn't give up, not without a fight. With less than 48 hours until the wedding, we had to survive her next move, and somehow find a new dress in the process. The next morning, just 24 hours before our wedding, my phone rang. It was Martha. "Hannah," she said, her voice trembling. I found something in Beth's room. You need to see this." When I arrived at Beth's room, Martha pulled back a curtain to reveal a hidden wall. My blood ran cold. Photos of Ben and Beth together covered the surface, meticulously arranged, but every picture of him with other women, including me, had been defaced, cut out, or slashed with red ink. Beneath them were stacks of journals, each page detailing Beth's obsessive plans to sabotage not just our wedding, but every relationship Ben had ever had. Martha stood frozen, her face pale. "I had no idea. She needs help, Hannah. Real help. We're having her committed this afternoon." Relief and a pang of sadness washed over me. Beth's obsession ran deeper than jealousy. It was something darker. But there was still one problem. I had no wedding dress. That's when Megan burst into the room, her grin wide. "Come with me. Now." She drove me straight to her mother's house and led me up to the attic. There, in a carefully preserved box, was a vintage wedding dress. "Mom always said this dress was meant for someone special," Megan said, her eyes glinting with excitement. "It's yours if you want it." The dress was breathtaking, a timeless silhouette with intricate lacework that miraculously fit me with only minimal adjustments. Megan's mom, a retired seamstress, got to work right away. As I stood on the platform while she made her final stitches, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ben. "Beth's been admitted. She's getting the help she needs. Nothing can stop us now." The morning of our wedding dawned bright and clear. Against all odds, Martha had managed to secure us a new venue. It turned out she had a few connections she wasn't afraid to call in. When I walked down the aisle in Megan's mother's dress, I saw Ben's eyes glisten with tears. Beth's empty seat was a stark reminder of everything we'd endured, but also a symbol of hope for her healing and for our future. During the reception, Martha pulled me aside and hugged me tightly. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "We should have seen the signs sooner. You've shown more grace and strength than I ever could have asked for. You're the daughter I've always wanted." Later, as Ben and I shared our first dance, he pulled me close and whispered, "Beth's doctor says with time, she might be able to have a healthy relationship with us again." I rested my head on his shoulder and said softly, "Someday. But for now, this is our moment." Looking around at the laughter and joy that filled the room, I felt a deep sense of peace. Beth had tried to break us, but instead, she'd shown us the strength of our love and the resilience of our bond. Months later, we received a letter from Beth's treatment center. It was an apology, genuine and raw, along with a promise to do better. Trust would take time, but it was a step in the right direction. As for me and Ben, we're stronger than ever. Every now and then, Ben glances at that vintage dress, now proudly displayed in our closet, and says, "You know what? Beth did us a favor. That first dress wasn't nearly as perfect as this one." And he's right. Life's greatest blessings often come disguised as our hardest battles. You just have to weather the storm to find the rainbow on the other side. What about you? If someone tried to ruin your big day, could you forgive them after they sought help? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your story.